Hello there YouTube, my name is Chuggy and today I am playing some Battlefield 3, playing some Scavenger on Azadi Palace and Conquest on Operation Metro, and today guys, it is question time, part 21. Yet again guys, you have submitted a load of great questions to me this week to answer. I think I have 16 or so this week, and today I'll be talking through my answers to your great questions. If you've not seen this series before, it is me answering your questions, and if you have a question you would like me to answer, being it on gaming, life or anything in between, all you have to do is pop it down in the comments section below. Today guys, I've got all sorts of questions from Formula 1 to partnership, and today I'll be working through those great questions. To briefly talk about the gameplays, well, you'll be seeing some Scavenger from myself here on Azadi Palace. I had a pretty decent game here, a nice quick game, and then you'll see a second game from Operation Metro, and it was actually quite funny. I had a really kind of weird Battlefield moment in it, and you'll know it when you see it, where I was going to try and unlock all the crossbow bolts, and I had the grenade launcher on for the first time in I don't know how long. I hardly used the thing, and I just so happened to find myself in a pretty sweet situation, and that might irk you're all noobs. 8943 who actually mentioned that Metro is his least favourite map because of the noob tubing and things. I can kind of understand that definitely, but it actually worked to my advantage for once. Success. Anyway, without further ado, let me get on to the first question this week, and it comes from Vordays, and they ask, now that the Formula 1 World Championship is over, how does Sebastian Vettel rate with the other three-time world champions? We're talking the likes of Senna, Brabham, Stewart, that kind of thing. And do I think that he deserves the World Championship given the well, basically fight back he had to put on in Brazil? Now let me put it like this, I still don't hold Vettel in particularly high regard. Not because he's a bad racing driver, far from it. He clearly has got the skill, he's got 3 world titles to his name, youngest ever to do that. The car is a big factor, for sure, and I think that is mainly perhaps the main reason I don't really rate him much, especially compared to some of the others. I mean, you think Ayrton Senna, for instance, had the great rivalry with Prost, was driving, well, admittedly the same car, but there was a lot of rivalries, dynamics there between himself and Prost, and of course then later on, once Prost left, it was an interesting challenge, and you had several great races from him there. Obviously, Sir Jackie Stewart, he drove in a time where safety was basically non-existent, but still got the job done. You have to, well, I guess you have to acknowledge really that the times change, so it's hard to relate. But certainly I think I value what other drivers have done over Vettel, let me put it like that. The car is a factor, I've said that. I think that the Red Bull's been a very good car. It's not been the fastest this year, and of the 3 titles he has won, I would say he'd done more work this year than the previous 2. But I must say, given the drive he put on to get back up into the points finishing places in Brazil, he deserved it. At the end of the day, Fernando made several mistakes during the Brazilian race, and he lost ground because of it. Be it running wide, not being on the right tyres, etc. So, yeah, I'll give Vettel his due. He did a great job in Brazil. Yeah, there's some controversies about flags and people letting him past. I'll get to those in a minute. There are questions about that, but yeah, I still don't hold him in high regard, say, as any of the other 3-time world champions. And it's going to be interesting to see, especially if he leaves Red Bull, what kind of a performance he'll be able to put in another car, let me say that much. But again, as I've said many times before, I'd like to see him in a midfield car and see what he can do. He proved it once in a Toro Rosso, which was set up very well in the wet. Can he do it again? I don't think he might be able to, Anyway, I digress. Thank you, Vordays, for the great question. It's a really it's an interesting question, and certainly statistically, Vettel is rewriting the record books. Sorry, nearly said the rule books. Whoops, Freudian slip. And yeah, fair play to him. He did a good job in Brazil. And he deserves a pat on the back for that, I'd say. Anyway, moving on. Let's get on to question kind of 2/3 this week, and it comes from Maxillus MW2, and it was also kind of mentioned by Trey Kubier, and they ask, can we play Medal of Honor or Battlefield with you? And, well, let me answer this with another question, and I'm not just trying to be funny about the answer here. The next question comes from Dr. BCDPS3, and they ask, what would I, if I was ever given the option to partner, let's say, would I do it? For, live streaming, thumbnails, and not necessarily the money. Well, let me answer all of these questions in one word. Yes. I'm not interested in the money side of things, but I am interested in the other bits, like the live streaming, like the thumbnails, like the series, like the show support, all this kind of stuff. You can do a lot of very neat stuff with YouTube, And all I can say is, soon. Perhaps hopefully that will make sense why I've been saying soon so much rather than out on the battlefield. Who knows? But yeah, soon guys, soon. Thank you guys for the questions. Being a bit cryptic, let's make it a bit fun, shall we? Thank you guys for the question. Now the next question comes from Arsenal 2022 and they ask, do I think that Jenson Button will be able to show himself as perhaps a better driver or have a greater chance of winning the championship now he'll be the #1 driver at McLaren? Well, it's a really interesting question, you know. If you look at Lewis and Jenson in the time they've been teammates, Jenson's actually outperformed Lewis in terms of point scoring. He hasn't won as many races, he hasn't got as many pole positions, but he has had more points. It's only by like 4 or 5 points or so, but still, it's the points which bring home the prizes at the end of the day in championship terms. Now, given that he will be the #1 driver at McLaren, purely because young Perez is, well, young Perez, I really do think he could be the world champion next year. I mean, the drive he put in Brazil, for instance, was absolutely stunning, and no one really talked about it. He built up 2 massive gaps for them to be taken away by safety cars. He handled the conditions brilliantly. You got to give it to him. He drove an absolutely stunning race, and I think with a bit more focus on his driving style, say, or just him having more perhaps input over what's going on in the team, yeah, I could see him seriously putting on a push. But having said that, I wouldn't want to see, say, Jenson get all the benefit just to stunt Sergio as being a backup driver. I think Sergio Perez could be a world champion one day. I really do, if he's given the chance, and I'm sure McLaren will give him that. So yeah, I do think Jenson could really be a title contender next year, and I think Lewis has dropped himself out of it. And does you watch now? I've said that because he's moved to Mercedes. Mercedes is going to have the fastest car. Joyous. Anyway, thank you Arsenal for the great question. I really do think that Jenson could be a force to be reckoned with. Now the next question comes from the Las Vegas Outcaster, and it's a really interesting question. They ask, what do I think about using sort of non-in-game VoIP, or voice over IP communication in game modes where you have only one life, so think search and destroy from Call of Duty, that kind of thing. And people using it to give their teammates an advantage, say, oh look, I'm dead but I can see where all the enemies are, here they are, kind of thing. Well, it's kind of something that you have to be aware of, and it's something which has been happening for a while, and there isn't really a nice solution to it other than the good sportsmanship of the people playing, I guess. So the thing with this kind of stuff is, how can you police it? How can you enforce that people don't do it? You can't really. Certainly, I mean, for instance, I've been playing a lot of Counter-Strike as of late, and there is a term, it's called ghosting, where if you're dead, you're talking to someone through TeamSpeak or Ventrilo or something, Skype, whatever, and yeah, you basically talk through where people are. And I've been playing some Counter-Strike with Tom as of late, and he has sort of started saying, oh, there's someone coming around this corner. I've just said, thanks Tom for, the heads up, but I want to do this on my own kind of thing. So personally, I don't like the idea. But unfortunately, there's not much you can really do. So, yeah, I'm not keen on it, let me put it like that. If the game allows you to talk after you're dead to your teammates, I've got no problem in it. Say, you're playing Conquest here, I just got shot, oh wait, Matt, whatever, there's a guy going around the corner. I have no problem with that, because that's allowed. But in game modes where the idea is you get one life, then you're gone, I take issue. So I think that's pretty much where you're coming from on this, and I would agree if that is the case. So thank you, Las Vegas Outcaster, for the great question. Next question comes from Chip Off the Block 99, and they ask the interesting Vettel yellow flag question from Brazil. And for those of you who don't know, there was some debate. Did Sebastian Vettel, who won the World Drivers' Championship, overtake someone under a yellow flag? And for those of you who don't know, that's not allowed. Yellow flag, no overtaking. There's an accident or incident on the circuit. Well, as it's been agreed upon and ruled by the FIA, no, there was no overtake. It was questioned because, it was first of all raised because there was an overtake on, I believe, Kobayashi, and the light was a solid yellow light, or at least looked solid yellow, and Vettel overtook. As far as I know, the solid yellow light on the new lighting things they have on the track means the red and orange flag, which means slippery surface, so there's no problem with him overtaking there. But there was a second clip of him overtaking, I think it was Ricciardo, it was one of the Toro Rossos, under a yellow flag, and people kind of going, well, that's not allowed, penalty, get him out, which would have, interesting, dropped him one place, just outside where he needed to be to let Alonso win. Conspiracy theory over. But anyway, yeah. It was ruled that it was legal because Vettel passed a green flag, which was a manually waved green flag, although there was a further green flag further down, like on the lighting system. But the curiosity was, well, his in-car dashboard was saying it's a yellow flag zone. What takes precedence? And I think basically it's kind of a, well, it's a grey area in the rules. What comes first? Now, apparently there's something called the floppy line, which you can overtake from. It's, I don't know, I haven't had the time to read through the rulebook on this. But certainly, as far as I'm concerned, no offence was happened, and you just got to deal with it. And speaking of dealing with it, how many times have you had this opportunity with a grenade launcher on Metro? Yeah, so suffice to say, that was a bit of a crazy moment for myself right there. Anyway, so yeah, to answer the question, I must admit I was in two minds when I first heard that this was being investigated. First of all, ooh, this could liven things up, but also, ooh, this is going to be bad for the sport. Because we had a cracking race in Brazil, everyone thought it was done and dusted, and it would be, well, interesting, let's say, for it to be argued on a technicality and someone win the championship after the race has happened. You know, for instance, going back to Senna and Prost, that little incident they had down in Suzuka, the chicane, and then the podium ceremony was held up for 20-30 minutes, then Senna was disqualified. It's not good for the sport. It just puts a very sort of bitter taste in people's mouths. So I'm happy that nothing's happened, and as far as I'm concerned, the FI have given the final decision. No, you know, nothing to investigate. So there we go. So anyway, Chip off the block, thank you for the question. It's an interesting one, and yeah, let's just see what happens to the rulebook next year. I expect there'll be a clarification. I'll say that much. Next question comes from Jedan71, and they ask, besides obviously the differences in consoles, Gran Turismo or Forza? Well, you'll have to pardon my lack of Forza knowledge. The only Forza game I have played is Horizon, and I don't know how closely that relates to the main Forza games, but I'm going to have to say Gran Turismo, mainly because I'm a Gran Turismo lad. It's basically all, you know, the main racing series I have played since I was 7, and there's a lot of memories there. So don't get me wrong, Forza's got its fans, fair enough, I hope you enjoy the game. But from what I've played of Horizon, it was quite drifty, quite, I mean, you could feel the car, you could feel it move and everything else. That was very, very nice, but it just didn't feel as involving as Gran Turismo can be sometimes when you're really, you know, almost one-to-one with a car. But then again, I was playing at Eurogamer and there was a bit of a queue, so time and place. But yeah, Gran Turismo for me, just because that's what I've been with since the start of me playing racing games, basically. Oh, pardon me, so thank you for the question, Dedan. Good question. Next question comes from Ward Sam 7. They ask, am I a fan of the World Rally Championship? Well, I used to be when I was younger, when you'd have, say, Colin McRae or Richard Burns drive it, but to be honest, I haven't really been following it these days. I know that Sebastian Loeb's just been winning everything consistently. I mean, heck, you hear about Michael Schumacher and his records. You don't necessarily hear about Loeb's so much. My word, he is an absolute machine. But no, I haven't really been following it, and I've heard that there are rumours that it might not be happening anymore because there just isn't the interest. I think Mini have pulled out. Yeah, I haven't really followed it, so I used to be a fan when I was younger, purely because of the characters who were in it. You know, Colin McRae was a legend, and so was Richard Burns, unfortunately both taken from us now, but yeah, as of late I haven't really been following it, so used to be when I was younger, is the short answer. Thank you, Ward, for the great question. The next question comes from Henry Sam, and they ask, what is my favourite bit of DLC from Battlefield 3 so far? Easy one, Aftermath by a country mile. There's just a really lovely mix of the new maps and the game modes together, and the crossbow, well, as a recon, I'm being able to play new strategies and things, and it's been very interesting, to say the least, playing Battlefield as of late. So, yeah, Aftermath by far. Next question comes from Bob Ob 1964, and I've butchered your name, my apologies on that, but they ask, crossbow or pro pipe, what do I prefer? Purely crossbow, because it is so versatile. You can switch out the bolts at any time, which you can't really do with a grenade launcher. You've got to die, then respec into, like, say, the smoke, whatever else. And the crossbow, I can just, you know, I can use it like a knife at range, which I've talked about before, but, you know, you can do blowing up of things, you can do sensing of things. I just think the crossbow's more versatile, and I prefer that, so crossbow, to keep it short and sweet. So yeah, thank you, Bob. I'm going to say Bobo 1964, hope that's right. Interesting question. I personally prefer the crossbow. Next question comes from Forever Broken 2, and they ask, what do I use to record my videos with? Well, I use a Hopog HD PVR, which is pretty much relatively standard amongst people, although more and more people are using the Elgato Game Capture these days because it's HDMI, which is nice. And I record into ITV3. I record on a Mac, and that is, in my opinion, the best way of doing it. There are other things available, but I can't get them to work. So ITV3 and the HD PVR, my personal setup, and it works very nicely. So I'll say that. I hope that answers your question. Next question comes from AR Stone, and they ask, what do you think are the pros and cons of the of spotting and the minimap in Battlefield 3? Well, the pros are, if you get people doing it consistently and working together based on it, you can have a really, really fun time basically strategically placing yourself, making the action happen around you. You know, if you can see a load of tanks coming one way, you get the engineers to the front, you get a nice little battle going on there which spawns in, oh look they need ammo, get the support in, oh look they need health, get the assaults in, and you just get a really nice bubble mix going on. But what you tend to see is maybe one person in the whole room doing it consistently, and that kind of gives one team the real advantage, and then things tend to peter out. So I personally see it as a pro and a con in itself. If it's done consistently and well by both teams, you can really, really make a very interesting game of it. And believe you me, I have a few games recorded which, frankly, I just need something to talk about for half an hour to upload, where you have really close games, just because everyone's countering each other, which is really cool. But yeah, when only one team, say, is doing it properly, or one squad, it can be a little one-sided. So pro, really good, enjoyable fights when people spot and use the map well. Con, not so enjoyable when only one team does. Or not at all. So there we go. That kind of answers the question here, One Stone. Great question. Next question comes from CoolCar14, and they asked, do I agree that community can completely ruin a game to the point where it's, annoying to play? Yes. Yes, I can, and that's why I don't play Call of Duty anymore, because basically I just got sick and tired of the way people played it. Hiding in corners, dolphin diving, using the stupidly high sensitivity just to use the advantage of being able to, spin around the second that they get shot in the back, that kind of thing. Just annoyed me, Take every advantage by all means, but don't do it to the point where you're not willing to lose, and then throw a hissy fit when you do. Just not fun times. Not fun times, unfortunately. So yes, I completely agree, and unfortunately I have been, I wouldn't say a victim of it, but I've been involved in games which have caused that to happen. So yes. Long short answer, yes. Thank you, Cool Car, for the great question. Next question comes from Warrior95ML, and they ask, there's one free slot on the 2013 Formula 1 season and only 19 tracks announced. Where might we go? Well, I think it's pretty much a done deal. I think we're going to be going back to the old A1 ring, which is now called the Red Bull ring, I believe, in Austria. Old Formula 1 circuit, I used to love driving it in F197. An interesting course, very interesting, and turn 1 is going to be very interesting as well. Uphill, right-hander, very tight, very fast as well if you get the line right. Yeah, I think we're going to Austria. There was talk of Turkey, but the thing is, I think financially they wouldn't be able to do it, especially if the government doesn't chip in any money. But no, Austria, welcome return, even if it is for 1 year, and who knows, we might get a contingent of German fans down to support young Sebastian and all the other German drivers, and yeah, who knows. So I would say Austria, and I would welcome Austria to come back. Actually, it's an interesting course. We haven't raced it in a while, and it'd be interesting to see how things go. So there we go, Austria for me, Warrior, and I'll be interested to hear if any of you guys, any Formula 1 fans, have any other thoughts. Bring back, I don't know, Manu Court, that was being talked about for a while, but never mind. I'm going off topic again. Anyway, let me get on to the next few questions to round out this week. Let's answer Maverick SASR's question: Battlefield 3, Medal of Honor, or Ghost Recon Future Soldier? That's a tricky question, because I love playing all three. They've all got their pros and cons, but purely for those sort of weird and wonderful moments which you can't find anywhere else, Battlefield. Just those moments where you kind of go, what the heck, there are 8 guys and I got a grenade launcher, etc. Anyway, thank you for the question. And the final question this week comes from Lissole, and they ask, what did I think? Did I think it was funny when I died the first episode of Redux, which is a series which is on Tom's channel? Yeah, I did. I found that absolutely hilarious. That was unplanned, and I forgot how in the original Rainbow Six Vegas you were a one-shot kill. I laughed, everyone laughed, it was funny. And the second question, am I going to make any Far Cry 3 videos? Maybe. Time is short, I'll be honest, but I'll see if I can perhaps put something together at some point. Who knows? Who knows? Time is the factor these days, actually, since I've been working at like a full 9-to-5 job. And maybe, who knows? We'll see. I'm just trying to think, can I? Possibly. Anyway, I'll digress. Yeah, that rounds out question time. How about that? So I had a great variety of questions there, some Formula 1 ones, some non-Formula 1 ones, and all in all, great questions as always, guys. Thank you so very much for them. And as before, if you have anything you would like me to answer, all you have to do is pop them down in the comment section below in this video, and I will get back to answering them next question time. Actually, I have one question for you guys now I think about it, actually. What do you think of the new YouTube? Now, as a sort of content producer, if you will, YouTube have been changing a lot of stuff in the background, which you may or may not have realised. The way videos are processed, the way that the searching works, and obviously now the layout, which is the most obvious thing. Do you think all this change at once is a good thing? I have my reservations, I certainly do. I, for instance, think that the new layout just seems a bit strange that it's all on the left, but never mind. I'd love to know your views on this, and well, anything else, and by all means feel free to ask me questions about anything as I've already mentioned. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed the two games. They're pretty brief, but I enjoyed playing both of them. There were some pretty interesting moments in both, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the commentary. Thank you for the great questions once again. So anyway, guys, as always, thank you so very much for watching. If you could leave a like, dislike, whatever you believe this video deserves, that would be fantastic. If you have any questions you would like me to answer, all you have to do is pop it down in the comment section below, and if you're new to my videos and you would like to see some more from myself, you can always subscribe. So anyway, guys, I've been Chuggy. Thank you so very much for watching and for your great questions. I'll see you next time out on the battlefield.